How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. I am joined by Shawn Rider. How are you, my friend?
I am fantastic. The family, me, my wife, my kids, and then my dad and his wife went down and utilized our Blowing Rock, North Carolina Airbnb for the first time in a while. So that was really nice. We love the house. We love the area. The weather was perfect. We went to watch two App State versus James Madison baseball games, and that's our inter-family rivalry because I went to App and my wife went to JMU. So 3 games. It was a 3-game series. We went to game 2 and halfway through game 3. So we saw App win game 2 after they won game 1, and then JMU was winning when we left game 3, and they ended up winning. So we rooted for both teams, but it was really cool. Never been to a college baseball game. That was awesome.
Yeah. Great experience. That's a great town, so I'm sure you guys had a ball.
It's a
Your
fantastic
pictures look
town.
good.
We love it. I mean, Boone and Blowing Rock are like two different. You get the same, like Blowing Rock's like smaller to explore, but it's a little more bougie, if you would, a little bit more. I hate to say higher class, but it is true that it is the real estate there is way more expensive than in Boone, even though they're only 10 minutes from each other. So you can go downtown Boone and it's more informal, more relaxed. And then you go to Blowing Rock and you got some nicer stuff depending on what you want to shop for. But we got a nice little park on Main Street in Blowing Rock that we always take the kids to pretty much every single day. As soon as they wake up, they're like, when are we going to the park? So it's a good way to have the kids burn energy before we explore the rest of the day. How are you and what are you doing?
Oh, I am in. We're actually staying at Camp Lejeune. I'm in. We're staying at Onslow Beach, North Carolina. So we're right on the beach. So the kids, speaking of waking up and having things to do, they want to leave and go to the beach immediately because it's like 100 yards away, and that creates its own set of problems for me to get stuff done and things like that, which they don't understand why we're not going to the beach. And I'm like, we need to wait an hour. Can we wait an hour? So, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great location. So going to be fun. We're here a week and then I don't know where we're off to, somewhere else.
Here, kids, put your floaties on and go to the beach.
Well, in the mornings, you can go down the beach a little ways, and the Marine recons are down there doing training, trying to qualify for recon. And so they're out in the surf in full BDUs getting smoked. It's interesting to watch the next generation of war fighters come up, and they look like babies.
No. Going through the same stuff that you did. All right.
Oh.
My man, we have had quite a few people ask us specific real estate questions based on their situations, experiences, and I don't want to say risk tolerance, but just their skill sets and how they view real estate. So I wanted to work through these with you. We got 2 on this episode, then I'll talk specifically about one that I'm thinking of for my dad on the next episode. So if you are into real estate or want to see how we work through different contextual situations, this will be 2 good episodes. So the first one is a guy in the group. He was a teacher for 15 years, got out of that, created his own business, built that business up, used the winnings, the money from that business, the success of that business, and spun off a complementary business that's in the same industry but slightly different customer avatar and service. And now he's still sitting on extra money and he wants to put it to work in something that's not as active from that business building sense. And
Yep.
so he's got a friend that has a long-term rental in his area, which is up in Wisconsin, that he's going to want to liquidate. And the short of the matter is it's a long-term rental. It's a house that's going to be worth about $210,000, but the person's going to sell it to him for $150,000 just to get out from it. It needs a little bit of work, but the work isn't pertinent or necessary. It's got a family that has been in it for a few years, but it's a family of 6, and they want to extend the lease. So he was talking about how to think about buying the property, how he should buy it, when he should buy it, what he should do with it in regards to what money to use, should he fix it up and then refinance, should he just wait until they break the lease or not re-sign for another year. You kind of know some more of the details, but you had a really good response to him. I don't know if you want to just talk about it verbally or if you want me to read your response on Facebook Messenger.
Well, I mean, I'd rather talk through like the things, the mindset that you should approach a deal like this with.
Roll with
Because because for me, my mind always goes to like what are what are the potential issues, right?
it. Right.
It in my mind, in my experience, it is a potential issue to take on a tenant. If you bring in a tenant that you're inheriting, you are potentially inheriting problems, and so you want to be clear on that. Um, and to be fair, we get paid to solve problems. So I'm not telling you that if in fact inheriting a tenant is a bad thing, or it makes the deal a no, even if it's a shit tenant, and even if the tenant hasn't paid in 6 months or something like that, because there's reasons to take on these problems because of the upside. So my mind is thinking, okay, are they paying rent? You would need to check that against a bank statement. Like if he says they're paying $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, I'd want to see that deposited in some checking account in some sort of way over the past few months, to just get congruency in that. So I'd want to know exactly what they were paying. I'd want to see a lease if they have one. Hopefully they do. Uh, and then I would want to understand, do they do want to extend according to him, but until you actually dig into the nuts and bolts and do the due diligence like a business in this, it's all hearsay. So you don't want to just dive headfirst into these deals. The other thing is there's admitted deferred maintenance on the property, and which is totally normal with a long-term renter that's been in there years, because you're not going to disrupt their lives and go in and like repaint the house while they're in it with all their stuff.
Right.
And so this deal sounded totally normal to me. Now he's getting it with 20+% equity on the way in with the buying purchase price. That's before we even start to negotiate, which is amazing. The guy's going to let him do an inspection, so I would 100% throw up the money to do an inspection, see if you can find any bigger issues that may need to knock down the price even more. Because like what you don't want to do is take a $60,000 discount on a property, and then your inspection returns that you need a roof, you got foundation issues, and you've got a full new HVAC that needs replaced. Because then you've eaten up that entire equity that we're talking about. And so you want to be clear on that on the way in, just to be sure. I mean, these guys in this situation are acquaintances, friends, whatever. So they're doing a transaction because one person is done with real estate and one person is like, this looks like a good deal. I'd like to get into real estate. And so it could be mutually beneficial, but we need to make sure it's going to be mutually beneficial, right? So in his situation, he was asking about using a HELOC that he's got because he's got a home equity line of credit on his house that is not tapped into currently. And what we do at the Tactical Empire is we take your profits and your liquidity from your businesses and we turn them into cash flow. And so that's what we're doing with him. So he's got a couple $100,000 sitting in a HELOC that is not being used right now. And so my response to him was, if the inspection comes back and it's fine, you might try to knock the guy down a couple more bucks and say, hey, I'm taking this off your hand to get it for 140 instead of 150 or whatever. The inspection will certainly return some things. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And so then you just decide if you want to negotiate based on that, or if there's actually any huge red flags. And if it's the inspection comes back and it's not a full walk away, like this thing's got too much wrong with it, then you figure out a final price, then you go take it down. And the reason that you want to do that, you want to take it down with the HELOC. The things that he didn't understand really are that speed matters, and then like securing the actual asset are what matters. So
Hmm.
like we can figure, he was trying to get into the weeds on like long-term conventional financing and shit like that. None of that matters until you've actually secured the asset. And this applies to businesses, it applies to real estate, it applies to anything. Now you go in, you do your due diligence, but once you have enough information, you have to act, and you have to take the thing down and bring it into your possession. And then once your name is on the title for the business as the owner, or the owner of the real estate, or whatever this investment is, in this particular case, it's a house, then you can mess with the levers of ways to finance it long term, structure the deal, blah, 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 right? And this is part of the reason that I really don't like SBA loans unless that it's the best way to go get things done, because the runway on SBA loans and things like that is just long. So in this particular situation, it makes sense for him to go in with his line of credit, buy the thing 100% cash, take it down in 2 weeks if the inspection comes back. Because what he doesn't understand, not being in real estate or not really paying attention and just learning at this point, is that we have a housing shortage that is astronomical, right? We also have a very volatile economy right now. And there is a fight going on with the administration and the Federal Reserve. And at some point, somebody is going to balk in that, like, back and forth. And interest rates are going to move. They're either going to move up, or they're going to move down, or they're going to stay the same. I don't know. But I think they're probably going to move down at some point. And when they do, the housing market is going to adjust in a way that people are unprepared for, because everyone thinks housing is going to crash. Everyone thinks things are so expensive. Everyone thinks that, like, we've been on this artificial inflationary trajectory with housing. But the fact is, it's just simple supply and demand, and we don't have enough housing. And in the month of March, we had the lowest number of actual starts, construction starts, that we've had since prior to 2020. And so builders are not building right now, or they're building at the lowest level in 5 years, 6 years, right? So what do you think that's going to do for the supply on the backside of that, right? So what I'm projecting we're going to see is interest rates are going to drop. If they don't drop, that no big deal, right? I could be wrong about that, but when they do drop, you will see a price adjustment that will increase in a way that probably mimics what we saw during like COVID. So you're going to see another spike in pricing because of the lack of supply. And so, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out, if you take interest rates from 6 to 4, that there's going to be a lot more buyers out there. It's going to unlock all this capital that's been locked up with all these homeowners for 5 years that have been sitting on their hands holding on to their 3% interest rates. If they can get close within striking distance, at this point, they've had 2 more kids, they need a bigger house. There's just a lot of reasons that you'll see this market shift. We've got more people in the country than we had 6 years ago. We've got less housing than we had during that time, and it's just it's a powder keg for another 20 or 30% increase in overall retail prices. And so this gentleman, like, I don't care how good of friends he is with this guy. If interest rates drop, let's say they drop more than I even think they're going to drop, like, then you're going to see a huge curve on retail pricing. And if this guy's property goes from 210,000 to 275,000 overnight, like, he's likely not going to sell it to him for 150 anymore. Or now there's more prospective buyers for this particular house because now everybody's super bullish again because interest rates are dropping. We're about to go into this bull run type thing. I mean, we're stuck in this malaise right now where we're pseudo in a recession, or we are in a recession, whatever you want to say it is. But now is the time to buy. And so when I'm talking to him about using his HELOC, and he's like, "Well, I'll just go get conventional financing," like the other strategic reason to do this is because if he buys it cash now, he can negotiate a lower price, get a little bit more skin on there, and have a bigger equity capture. But the other huge thing is there's so many unknowns with that tenant in place, the long-term tenant, that if he takes it down with his HELOC, he still remains able to, let's say they move out in 6 months. You go into the property and you realize the property's got $30,000 worth of repairs that need to happen on it. At that point, he can go do a refinance on it, which will pay for the rehab, take his HELOC out, refill his HELOC up, pay for his rehab costs, and then put it into long-term debt service, and he will still not be touching his actual money.
Right.
So he's using other people's money to do the entire transaction, as opposed to like the conventional financing route where he's going to throw cash at the thing to put a down payment on. Then they move out in 6 months, and then it's got $30,000 worth of damage. Then he's got to go try to do a cash out refi, or he's got to pony up his own capital to do it.
Right.
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 So I
Yep.
can't say all that over Messenger because that would have taken me a freaking day to write. But that's the thought process I went through on that whole deal.
Well, we can send this episode to him specifically, but the now that Jeff got his rocks off for real estate economics, the lessons that need to be pulled out there is it does come back to the 7 levels of financial freedom that we teach to all the members in the Tactical Empire. Levels 3, 4, and 5 specifically. Now, this gentleman already set up his family bank through life insurance. He has a very large outstanding loan. On that 5.5% loan, he lent that money for a real estate deal, private money at 15%. So he's making about a 9.5%, 10% delta on that as a financial tool. Then he has his other financial tool, which is about a $208,000 home equity line of credit. That is trapped equity in a home. That is getting access and increasing liquidity via that financial tool that Jeff mentioned. That's level 3 of our 7 levels of financial freedom. Now, when you pull your HELOC, that's your equity, but that's not your money. That is the bank's money. You're using someone else's money to go put it to work to take down this asset, as Jeff said. And if he can take down a $210,000 asset by using only $150,000 of a HELOC, he is gaining $60,000 in equity on a property. That is what, 30% equity capture. That 60 grand goes to his net worth statement, which again, the equity doesn't put money in his pocket, but the asset will. He can take that down, like Jeff said, if they stay 6 months or they stay a year. Once they come out, if it needs $30,000 of repairs, he still has room on his HELOC to pull the $30,000, do the repairs, and then refinance at that time. The property might be worth $250,000 or $300,000. So if he can do 80%, or more, if let's just say it's $300,000, if he can get an 80% mortgage on that, that's $240,000, and he only put about $180 into it. He'd walk away with 60 grand,
60.
and he'd still have the equity. So this seems like, again, as long as there's nothing on the inspection that is like a done deal breaker, this seems like a really good first property to get in with, not using his money, even if he has to use his HELOC to grab it. That is the ideal situation based on what we responded to him with.
Yep, 100%. There's so many directions to take it. It's a good deal, though. I mean, this just goes back to everything that like we talk about in real estate all the time. A deal's a deal. Like he could pick that up for 150 and sell it and not even close on it and sell it to someone else, probably in our group, for 170 and walk away with 20K. Like,
Sure.
the options. options. There's a million
Yeah.
options. And like when you have a deal secured, you can go any direction with it.
Yeah. I want to say this: there are zero options without the action first, and you can almost hear it in the way that this gentleman, again, he's newer to the group, so, and he sent us he did a 6.5 minute recording to explain this property to us, which I appreciated. But the first minute and a half was him telling us how awesome the meetup was, because he's gone to so many different mastermind meetups, and he's like, this one was so different. I appreciate it, so I want to throw that out there as a personal testimonial. But it's almost as if like he's so worried about this one specific action to take that he's missing the plethora of options he will get from taking this single action. And that's what you do really good at, Jeff, is expanding people's minds on, hey, take this action, then you're going to see like there's other chapters to this book that you haven't even like seen yet in your quote reading of real estate investing. So I recognize that from you as a mentor, and I appreciate that. So is there anything else you want to say about that situation? I am going to push the other situation to another episode just so we can stretch
Yeah.
this out a bit and separate out specific situations. But anything else about this particular one? All in all, if you have access to capital and you're not utilizing that capital now, if you have an inkling that the Fed's going to drop rates, we've been saying it for a year and a half. So the longer it goes, the closer we get to that opportunity, whether it's going to take another month or another year and a half, it doesn't matter. When the rates go down with the lack of supply in this country, prices will go up.
Huh. Yeah, I mean the other thing, the other opportunity in this particular deal that I thought of when he said, "Hey, it's probably going to take $50,000 to repair it." In my mind, that sounded like, "Whoa!" Like he's thinking along the lines of like how over rehabbed he was going to do that property. So I need to talk to him about that. But it brought up something else for me because I was like, well, if you're going to buy this thing for 150, you're going to put $50,000 into it. I guarantee it's a $300,000 house at that point. So at that point, does it make sense to sell it and then
Right.
make 100 grand and walk away in 90 days instead of mess with any of this shit? Like so. Because I'm positive, having it been his first deal, I was like, when these people move out, you're probably only going to have to do a rehab of like, I don't know, if they damage it a lot, maybe 20 grand. Like just because you only want to get it rent ready, you don't want to get it like retail ready.
Well, that's the thing that stuck out to me when he's like, hey, they allowed us to walk through the property and, it definitely needs a lot of work. It's like, dude, you walk through a house that's got 6 people living in it. Like, of course
Yeah,
it looks like it needs a lot of work, but take all of their shit out of there, paint the damn thing, clean the carpets, and you might change your mind. Again, retail sale is different than rent ready. I think that's a very
yeah,
good takeaway from this episode.
yep. But it was just another angle, like getting a great deal. I mean, there might be a way for him to make 6 figures in 6 weeks instead of
Mm.
like holding the property. So like every deal's different, every strategy's different, but like ultimately a deal is a deal and you can find a buyer for it if you have a true deal, and you shouldn't pass it up.
Love it.
And
Jeff,
and
the
he
one
does
comment that
because
I screenshotted, if anyone wants to see, I screenshotted your response to him in Facebook Messenger. I put it on my Facebook as first time real estate investment and made a piece of content on it. And the last phrase was, this is a guy inside the inner circle. He sent a Facebook message and video. He got a response from us in less than 24 hours. That simple response from you, if he takes action from that, is going to yield an uncalculable value to his family, either in perpetuity. And it doesn't matter if he holds the property in perpetuity. If you can sell a property in 6 to 8 weeks and make $100,000, what can that money do for you for the next 40 years? That
yeah,
and all from having access to asking you a question. And I want people to recognize that, because they look at masterminds, they're like $300 a month, whatever, $500 a month. That's crazy. Yeah, but what are you going to do with the investment? And are you going to ask the questions you need to ask? And ultimately, are you going to take the action that you need to take to get a 1,000x multiple of your investment in the group? And that's important takeaway from this episode.
Well, I mean, just a simple action he could take if he called me and said, "Hey, I don't want to be involved in real estate. I don't want to be in like it's too hands on for me, but I've got this deal." If he gave me that exact same deal, I would tell him to flip it, take the 100 grand, put it in Brandon's fund, and Brandon's fund would
Okay.
pay him $1,000 a month forever. $1,000 a month forever
Yeah.
if he did that
Yep.
in for the next quarter of his life, for not of his life, sorry, the next quarter, 90 days. He could have
Yep.
that deal completely done, make the 100 grand, invest it in a passive vehicle, and make $1,000
Yep.
a month for the rest of his life for his family. It just like that.
Yep. Boom. Let's go. Jeff, appreciate you. Send the people out.
Yeah, man. Join the Tactical Empire Facebook community. It's a free community. We post a lot of content in there. If you have questions, come join us. You can DM Shawn or I on Instagram. That's the best way to reach us, probably. Thank you guys for listening. Send this to a friend that it may be helpful to. I would love more questions from you guys because it just gives us more content and we can help you move forward in your life. So go win the fucking week, and we will talk to you soon.